The outer walls of the house were made of turf pieces, known as strengur, with some added stone at the base. The roof was also of turf. 2 rows of posts supported the roof, but some of its weight must also have been carried by the walls. This is unusual for a dwelling of this period, where the weight of the roof was generally borne by posts and other internal timbers. Intriguingly, under the western wall is the spine of a hole. Most of the house had a trampled earthen floor. Only a small area of the western part of the house had a timber floor or a platform, called a bench or set. This would have been the householder's personal space or sleeping area, perhaps with enclosed cabins. The main post supported long horizontal beams, called purlin. Clear indications were found for various compartments at either end of the house. Notably, there is good evidence for the stalling for animals, such as cows at the northern end of the house. It is the first time this practice has been clearly seen in the Viking period Iceland, although this arrangement was common in Northern Europe at the time.
This is a patch of low turf wall. Now, I'm not sure if these stones are part of that wall, but it says that the light-colored patch next to it, again, I don't know if that's this one here or that over there, is a layer of tephra, which is volcanic eruption dust, if you will. So this is the boundary wall. This is another house, a small fragment of wall and possible floor from around the same time. And then this is the foundation that they were speaking of. So that answers my questions. Here was what they call an impressive porch that even had paving on it. This is apparently one of the early books recording the sagas of Iceland or of the Vikings. And here what looks to be a leather-bound volume. I think tourism is evidenced here by the fact that they have the money to build a superb little museum because of tourism. Not quite sure what these stones at the bottom of the manuscript were for.
In front of the old Parliament building in this park, it's notable that it is also the site of various protests and revolutions. And they're called the kettle revolutions because people will come here with a spatula and a pot and they bang that pot until the legislators listen to them. Most notable was recently with the publishing of the Panama Papers, which illustrated some corruption of the Prime Minister. Something like 20 to 60,000 people gathered here with their pots, and the next day the Prime Minister resigned. God, that we could do that. This little day tour trip is very reminiscent of the tuk-tuks, and notice the back, it says tuk-tuk tours. It's for hauling heavy weights about. This mound and its monument on top is actually a grave site. The man portrayed on top was an early legislator who spent more time in the garden watering this beautiful garden and taking care of it than he apparently did in the legislature, which frankly would be a good formula for most of our legislators to use. They're too busy out hustling a dollar so they can get reelected. But his one wish was that when he died he would be buried here, and he was. It's also notable that there is no security anywhere near this Parliament building. They simply don't feel the need for it. And this is the Reykjavik Cathedral, built in 1847 and revered, I think, more than the
colossus that we'll visit later. Notice that the first 4 sets of pews are doored off from the rest. This is a Lutheran church. This takes us up into the belfry, I believe. That takes us up into the highest part. No, not quite. We can go higher. And higher we shall go. Room for classes, perhaps. Administration. Get a look at the architecture and the skeletal structure of the building. The inner workings of a clock. Perhaps it controls a bell also.